Hey everybody, back in the woods for another video today, into my quiet place. Something that I've seen a lot lately since my last video talking about the Amazon and how we're all personally responsible and things is how people really make a connection, a possessive connection with animal products, with meat, with milk, with cheese, with eggs. And they say things like, I like my eggs too much, I like my meat too much, or my milk. And it's interesting that somewhere along the line, we actually started to believe that we own these things. We started to believe that just because we give someone money, that these things are now ours. So it's just really interesting to me. I thought of a way that I could articulate this to somebody because, I try to rack my brain for the best ways to kind of explain why we don't own animals. And I thought I came up with a pretty good example. So just, entertain me, if you will, here for a second. So let's just pretend that you are sitting in a coffee shop with your friend. Maybe you've just finished up a run or something like that. Whatever it is that you like to do before you go and grab a coffee together. Your friend gets dairy in their coffee. Of course, you get one black, or you bring your own cream, or you get a tea, or you get some alternative. And the conversation comes up and they say, well, I could never do that because I could never give up cream, or I could never give up milk, my milk. So you point out the window at a really nice car that's sitting out in the parking lot, and you say, we should go take that for a spin. We should just ignore what they said and just say, we should go take that car for a spin. You should go take that. That's a nice car. Man, that would look good in your driveway. Well, of course their initial reaction is going to be, well, that's not mine. That's not my car. That's not my car for the taking. You're right. It's not. Okay. Well, friend, you're right, that isn't your car, so if you feel bad about it, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a really good deal. That's probably worth about $10,000. I'll give it to you for $6,000. Well, of course, your friend's going to look at you like you're crazy because it's not yours to sell, right? So in that case, them paying money for it still doesn't change anything because it's still not theirs. It's still not theirs to take. It's not yours to sell. It is an inanimate object, but apparently it holds more worth than that milk in their coffee. So you pointed out to them, well, how is this any different? So this isn't mine to sell. This car, this inanimate object that doesn't have a life or feelings, isn't mine to sell to you. So you won't give me money so that you can take it home with you and call it yours. But you'll pay these people in this coffee shop who have paid people in an industry to take milk that isn't theirs to sell. So it's interesting when people are more in tune and in line with morality when it involves something like a car, an inanimate object that really, for all intents and purposes, cannot be commodified. It just is there. But yet sentient beings with their own lives and their own feelings, their own personalities, their own desires, their own wants, their own needs, their own life, does not fall into that same category, that same understanding of inherent morality, that it's not yours to take and not mine to sell to you. So it's interesting. It really highlights the speciesist mentality that we have. We'd be more offended, we'd be more upset, and maybe even offended by the notion of stealing from another human. But paying to take the life of an animal, no problem. What do you do? It's one of those things. People will say it's hard to be vegan. I could never do that That would be so difficult for me. But no, it's actually extremely easy. Because as soon as you realize that, like the car, animals' bodies or secretions or lives are not yours to exploit or sell, it makes it extremely easy to draw a moral line and say, well, no, I'm not going to use those things. They're not mine. And even if I give someone money, it still doesn't justify that. Just like stealing a car out of the parking lot doesn't justify it if you give your pal some money in the coffee shop. You can't just take what isn't yours. Thou shalt not steal if you're one of those biblical types. Personally, I'm not, but there are some great lessons to be learned. And there are often times when people will quote the Bible to say, you can take this, you can do whatever you want, you can eat meat because they did so in this book. Well, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not covet, don't steal. These are all principles that were in there as well. But it's easy to ignore those things because that requires some personal accountability. So it's easy to cherry pick. But anyway, thought I would just kind of share that scenario because it's so simple, it's so basic. No one would steal the car from the parking lot. I mean, sure, there are thieves, but most people aren't going to steal a car from a parking lot because they realize it isn't theirs. And paying someone money doesn't change that fact. So being vegan is extremely easy when you realize that the animals are not yours. They're not yours to use, to exploit, to kill, to eat, to drain. They're not yours. Live vegan. Not only is it the right thing to do, it's extremely easy to do.